Hello and welcome to Tomatoes and Tomatillos from Seed, Part 2. Congratulations, you have started your seeds. Here's your seedlings. It looks like all of the cells have germinated. This is about 5 days into the journey after we started the seeds. We have the dome cover on. Now we can remove it. We want to actually leave it off once all the seeds have germinated, or at least even a few of them, just so that we make sure that there's not too much humidity under the dome causing disease. Leave the heating mat underneath the tray. We're going to target between 70 to 80 degrees. Right now we're at 76.1, which is perfect. We're keeping the thermometer right in the tray so that we always know what the temperature is. If it becomes a little warmer, just unplug the heating mat for a couple hours in the day for the hottest parts and then replug it in. Remember that your heat mat usually adds about 10 degrees to the current room temperature. Now, for watering, previously I mentioned that it would be good to mist the top to keep these seedlings moistened. That's only until germination. Now we want to change our approach a bit. We're going to water from the bottom, half strength, with a liquid fertilizer. This is a 433. It happens to be my favorite. Here it is, a little closer. Use that fertilizer and then bottom water. You're going to fill the tray about halfway up until you start to see that the tops of each cell are moistened. You can really tell just by looking whether it's dry or moistened. Once it's taken up the water, not more than 15 minutes. Go ahead and drain off this water. I would, to save the fertilizer and the water, I would just put it into another plant. Return your cells to the tray. Be sure that the tray has grooves in it so that if there's any residual water coming off the bottom, that it has places for it to drain. If you overwater, there's no coming back from it. You can experience something like dampening off. Even after all my years starting from seed, I've actually experienced dampening off. It's terrible. Essentially what will happen is there's too much moisture, there's a disease that can grow, then the seed that was now first growing will then dampen off. Basically it just dies and it doesn't come back. There's no coming back from it. You just have to start over again. Now that these have germinated, you can introduce light. I like this clip-on light. It's adjustable. You can put them as low as you like onto the seeds and it won't harm the seedlings. I usually like to keep the lights between 1 and 3 inches above the seedling. And by the way, you will not burn your seedlings, even if it's too close. And then as your seedlings grow, you can adjust these up. The reason you want to keep these very low onto the seedling is to prevent legginess. Now, a word about legginess. Leggy seedlings happen when the light is too far from the seedling and then the seedling is reaching up to get to the light. Then the stem becomes very weakened and then we call that leggy. They're just too tall and they don't support themselves very well. So to avoid that, that's why you keep the lights as low as you can to the seedling. One thing, if you're starting tomatillo, they tend to be a little gangly. They tend to like wander and get kind of tall. That don't worry about. That's just going to happen naturally. Your seedlings are going to need between 12 and 16 hours of lighting a day. I turn them on from the time I wake up until I go to bed at night. That usually ends up being 14, 15 hours, something like that. You can set a timer to these lights, so if that works better for you, please go for it. Next, we're going to add some movement and some circulation to these seedlings by adding a fan. Now, I usually will run the fan on until you can see them just slightly sway. And I will set this guy right here. Right? So that it's very close. That's why I put it on low. If you have a fan that's a little farther away, you can turn it up, whatever the case may be. You don't want them to blow over. You just want to see them swaying like so. So leave that on a couple of hours a day. Basically, what you want to do is get your seedlings prepared for the outdoor element, which they're not going to necessarily get when they're growing inside. They're kind of being babied inside the house. So turning on a fan will add circulation, which also helps to prevent disease and also helps to strengthen the seedlings so that they can handle windier days when they go outside eventually. So once your tomato and tomatillo seeds have sprouted, here's a quick summary of what to do. You're going to move the seedlings under a light. Make sure to get a specialized grow light. Leave them under the light for about 12 to up to 16 hours a day. And make sure to stop misting from above. You want to water from below, and go ahead and use a fertilizer, maybe a 433, something very generalized. And water every time that you water. Make sure and water from below at half strength and only when needed. Last but not least, add that fan. It will promote some movement, help your seedlings gain some strength, and also help resist any kind of soil-borne diseases. Now, I did a head-to-head, if you recall, in part 1. I started some seeds outdoors and then also these ones inside. So I am really excited to share the results of that experiment. I'm going to share with you that if you are dismayed by the amount of work and equipment it takes to start seeds from indoors, you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you learn what it is to start the seeds from outdoors. Following that, we're going to have a follow-up on to this particular video on potting up and hardening off these indoor started seeds so they can be ready to grow outside. Good luck. We'll see you soon.